The morning starts slowly, as it always does. The sweet, almost intoxicating scent of ripe mangoes hanging heavy on the trees mixes with the earthy aroma of coffee being brewed in small roadside stalls. In the Grand Marché, vendors are setting up their colorful displays of fabrics, spices, and handcrafted goods. The gentle putter of motorbikes, the city's lifeblood, begins to fill the streets, weaving between pedestrians and old, resilient Peugeot cars. Children, their laughter echoing in the narrow alleyways, chase each other on their way to school, their bright uniforms a stark contrast to the dusty roads. This is a morning of absolute peace, a perfect picture of everyday life in Burkina Faso's cultural heart. The sky above is a vast, uninterrupted canvas of pale blue, calm and promising a hot day ahead.
Then something changes. It's not a sound you hear at first, but a feeling, a subtle shift in the atmosphere. High above, tiny specks appear against the blue, growing larger with impossible speed. They are not birds. They are military transport planes, flying in a steady, determined formation. But there is no roar of jet engines threatening to shatter the peace, only the distant, steady drone of propellers. And then it happens. The belly of each plane opens, and the sky blossoms. Hundreds upon hundreds of parachutes unfurl, not in a chaotic jumble, but in a deliberate, organized pattern. They drift downwards, silent and graceful, like a field of strange dark flowers blooming in the air. Down on the streets, the buzzing of life quiets to a hush. People stop what they're doing, their faces turned upward. A fruit vendor forgets the mango in her hand. Children halt their games, pointing at the sky with wide, curious eyes. There is no panic, no screaming. There are no explosions, no trails of smoke, no signs of an ongoing battle. This isn't an invasion from a foreign enemy. The soldiers descending are their own. The silence is the most unsettling part. It's a deliberate quiet, a display of precision and control. It feels less like an attack and more like a surgical procedure. War, it seems, has learned to tiptoe into the city, to arrive with the eerie calm of a falling leaf, rather than the fury of a storm. This is Operation Swift Descent, and it is more than just a military drill. It is a powerful, unspoken declaration from Burkina Faso to itself, to its enemies, and to the world. The old ways are over. A new kind of fight has begun, and it starts with warriors who fall from the sky.
Deep within the city of Bobo-Dioulasso, far from the bustling markets and public squares, lies a place that is spoken of in hushed, respectful tones. It is not a tourist destination or a landmark celebrated on postcards. It is the Service d'appui et d'instruction des troupes aéroportées, the elite airborne training center. The name, a mouthful of official-sounding French, hides the raw, gritty reality of what happens inside its walls. SAITAP is not just a military base. It is a furnace where ordinary soldiers are forged into something more. It is the heart of Burkina Faso's new military doctrine, a place where the country's toughest, most resilient warriors are born.
Entering SAITAP is to step into a world where comfort is a forgotten luxury and limits are things to be shattered, not respected. This is no place for the hesitant or the faint of heart. Here, recruits are systematically broken down and rebuilt, stronger than they ever imagined possible. The training is a relentless assault on every aspect of their being. Physically, they are pushed to the brink of exhaustion, running for miles under a punishing sun, carrying heavy packs, and navigating brutal obstacle courses until their muscles scream in protest. Mentally, they are challenged with complex tactical problems, forced to make life or death decisions while sleep-deprived and under immense pressure. Emotionally, they are taught to master their fear, to remain calm in the face of chaos, and to trust the soldier next to them with their life. The core skill taught at SAITAP, parachuting, is not about aesthetics or putting on an impressive air show. It is a fundamental tool for survival in the unique and brutal war Burkina Faso is fighting. Today's battles are not waged on clearly defined fronts between armies in matching uniforms. The enemy is a shadow, a fluid, unpredictable force of militants who strike without warning and disappear back into the vast, unforgiving landscape of the Sahel. They don't fight fair. They use terror as their primary weapon, attacking soft targets like villages, schools, and clinics. To counter such an enemy, soldiers need to be more than just strong. They need to be ghosts themselves. They need to appear out of nowhere, faster than rumor can travel. That is the promise of SAITAP. It creates warriors who can descend from the heavens, landing directly in the heart of chaos, and seize control before the enemy even understands what is happening.
One might logically ask why this critical center of military excellence was established in Bobo Dioulasso, the country's second city, rather than in the capital, Ouagadougou. The capital is the seat of government, the center of national power, and the primary logistics hub. Yet the choice of Bobo Dioulasso was a masterful strategic decision, rooted in geography, history, and a deep understanding of the nature of the conflict. The city's location is its greatest asset. Think of Burkina Faso as a vast, complex chessboard. The most dangerous pieces, the insurgents, are concentrated in the north and east, along the porous borders with Mali and Niger. Placing SITAP in Ouagadougou would mean any deployment to these hotspots would still require significant travel time. Bobo Dioulasso, however, sits in a unique strategic pocket. It is far enough south to be insulated from the primary conflict zones, providing a secure environment where soldiers can train without the constant threat of attack. This safety is crucial for developing complex skills without interruption.
At the same time, Bobo Dioulasso is geographically central in a way that the capital is not. It acts like a spider at the center of a web. From here, airborne troops can be deployed with nearly equal speed and efficiency in any direction, north towards the Sahel, east towards the volatile Tapoa province, west towards the Malian border, or south to secure the country's economic lifelines. In a war where minutes can mean the difference between a village saved and a village razed, this ability to radiate forces outward is priceless. Paratroopers, by their very nature, don't need roads which are often mined or ambushed by militants. They don't need to wait for armored columns to mobilize. They simply need a clear patch of sky. From Bobo Dioulasso, the entire country is within their reach in a matter of hours, not days. The city's soul is also steeped in military history. It was a significant garrison town during the colonial era, a place where French forces trained African soldiers. After Burkina Faso gained its independence, it didn't just erase this past, it built upon it, transforming a legacy of foreign control into a symbol of national self-reliance. SITAP is not some gleaming high-tech facility built with billions in foreign aid. It is a thoroughly Burkinabe institution, forged through decades of experience and a fierce determination to create something of its own. It has evolved to be lean, resourceful, and fiercely independent, shedding its reliance on foreign instructors and outdated borrowed methodologies. This is a training center built by Burkinabe soldiers, for Burkinabe soldiers to fight Burkina Faso's battles.
Operation Swift Descent, the massive airborne drill that took place over Bobo Dioulasso in 2025, was far more than a simple training exercise or a parade of strength. It was the ultimate final exam. It was a real-world test of every lesson taught at SITAP, a validation of the entire airborne doctrine that the country was betting its future on. The scale was unprecedented for the Burkinabe military, over 500 soldiers participating in a single coordinated drop. Each one of those soldiers was a graduate of SITAP's grueling regimen, an expert in their craft. Their journey to this moment began months earlier, in the punishing training grounds of the academy. They had already endured endless drills preparing them for this exact scenario. They learned to jump in the dead of night with no moonlight to guide them, relying solely on instruments and instinct. They practiced navigating through simulated sandstorms and torrential rain, learning to land and regroup in zero visibility conditions. They were drilled in survival techniques, left for days in remote areas with minimal supplies to test their ability to live off the land and operate behind enemy lines without any support. They weren't just being taught how to use a parachute, they were being conditioned to embrace uncertainty and thrive in chaos.
When the day of Operation Swift Descent arrived, the atmosphere was thick with tension and focus. As the soldiers boarded the transport planes, they weren't carrying dummy rifles or going through the motions of a pretend mission. Their weapons were real, their ammunition was live, and their objectives were deadly serious. The moment they leaped from the planes, they were on the clock. Upon landing, there was no time for rest or congratulations. The second phase of the operation began instantly. They had to execute their missions with speed and precision. Some units were tasked with securing critical infrastructure, like a simulated airport or a power station. Others had the objective of establishing secure communication links with a command center, a vital task in a real-world scenario. A third group was assigned to a high-stakes mission, rescuing civilians played by other soldiers from a hostile area. Every move was timed, every decision was scrutinized. There were no instructors holding their hands, no opportunities for a do-over. This was designed to be as close to the brutal reality of war as possible. Although the drop zone was near Bobo Dioulasso, the exercise was crafted to simulate the treacherous conditions of the country's most dangerous regions, like the forests of Tapoa or the volatile tri-border area where Burkina Faso meets Mali and Niger. These are places where insurgents can materialize from the bush, where roads are death traps, and where conventional ground forces are often too slow to make a difference. Operation Swift Descent proved that Burkina Faso's paratroopers could bypass these obstacles entirely. They could land in minutes, fully prepared to fight, to stabilize a chaotic situation, and to achieve their objectives before the enemy even knew they were coming. It was a resounding success and a powerful proof of concept.
To truly understand why Burkina Faso has staked its future on airborne soldiers, you must first understand the enemy they are fighting. This is not a traditional war against a conventional army. There are no enemy tanks rolling across the border, no fighter jets screaming overhead, no clear front lines drawn in the sand. The enemy is a ghost, a hydra with many heads, known by various names, JNIM, ISIS in the Greater Sahara, but united by a common tactic, terror. They are militant groups, shadowy and decentralized networks that operate outside every known rule of warfare.
These groups do not seek to hold territory in the traditional sense, with flags and government buildings. Their power comes from creating chaos and fear. Their strategy is one of attrition, designed to bleed the state dry and sever the bond of trust between the government and its people. They don't engage the army in head-on battles where they would be outgunned. Instead, they choose the path of least resistance, carrying out brutal hit-and-run attacks on the most vulnerable parts of society. They sweep into small, undefended villages in the dead of night, burning homes, stealing livestock, and executing anyone who resists. They target schools, burning them to the ground to deny children an education and create a lost generation. They attack clinics, killing nurses and destroying medicine, ensuring that even the sick and injured have nowhere to turn. After each savage act, they melt back into the vast, porous Sahelian landscape, disappearing into the desert or blending in with civilian populations before any military response can be mobilized. For years, Burkina Faso's conventional military, trained in old-fashioned tactics, struggled to cope. Their heavy armored convoys were slow and cumbersome, making them easy targets for roadside bombs and ambushes. By the time soldiers could navigate the treacherous roads and arrive at the scene of an attack, they were often too late. They would find only smoldering ruins, grieving survivors, and an enemy long gone. The militants exploited this time lag perfectly. It created a narrative of an impotent state, unable to protect its own citizens. Every delayed response reinforced the insurgents' message: the government cannot save you, we are in control. This asymmetric warfare, a battle of the swift against the slow, demanded a radical new approach.
The paratrooper is the perfect antidote to the insurgents' playbook. Where the enemy relies on speed and surprise, the paratrooper is faster and more surprising. They represent a fundamental shift in Burkina Faso's military doctrine, moving away from slow reactive defense towards rapid proactive intervention. They are the embodiment of three critical principles: speed, surprise, and adaptability.
Speed is the most obvious advantage. As discussed, conventional forces are slaves to terrain. They are bound by roads, which can be easily blocked, mined, or ambushed. Paratroopers are bound by no such constraints. They travel through the sky, the ultimate high ground, bypassing every obstacle on the ground. This drastically shortens the response time. The golden hour in counterinsurgency is that critical window of time immediately following an attack. If a military force can arrive within this window, they can engage the attackers, save lives, and prevent the enemy from escaping. Paratroopers can turn a response time of hours or days into a matter of minutes. This ability to close the gap between an attack and a response is revolutionary. It robs the insurgents of their most valuable asset, time. Surprise is their second weapon. Insurgents plan their attacks based on the calculated response time of government forces. They know how long it will take for a convoy to arrive. They never expect soldiers to rain down from the sky directly on top of them. This element of shock and disorientation can shatter an enemy's morale and cohesion, turning the hunter into the hunted in an instant. It forces the militants to constantly look over their shoulders, to fear the sky itself, making them less bold and less effective.
Adaptability is the third and perhaps most important principle. At SciTap, soldiers are taught much more than just how to jump out of a plane and fire a rifle. They are trained to be completely self-reliant, to operate independently in hostile territory for days at a time if necessary. They are not just trigger pullers, they are multi-skilled survivalists. Some are trained as combat medics, able to treat wounded civilians and comrades on the spot. Others carry advanced portable communication devices, allowing them to send real-time intelligence, video feeds, coordinates, and enemy assessments directly to headquarters, even from the deepest jungle or the most remote desert. Many are taught how to work with local populations, to build trust, and to gather human intelligence on the ground. They are trained to be problem solvers, strategists, and diplomats all at once, capable of adapting to any situation they land in. This new airborne strategy is about so much more than military victories or kill counts. Its deepest and most profound impact is on the people of Burkina Faso. Insurgency at its core is a war for the hearts and minds of the population. Militants thrive in an atmosphere of fear and abandonment. Their power grows every time a village is attacked and no one comes to help. Each unanswered cry for help strengthens their grip, making villagers feel that the state has forgotten them, that they are completely on their own. This feeling of helplessness is the fertile ground in which extremism takes root.
When paratroopers descend from the sky, landing in the middle of a chaotic attack, or in its immediate aftermath, they bring more than just guns and ammunition. They bring hope. Their sudden arrival is a powerful, visible symbol that the government is fighting back, that it is present, and that it has not abandoned its people. Imagine being a villager, huddled in your home, listening to the sounds of terror outside, believing that all is lost. Then you look to the sky and see soldiers descending, not on a distant road, but right here, right now. That single moment can undo years of insurgent propaganda. It is a promise kept, a show of commitment that is more powerful than any political speech. These soldiers are not just defending territory. They are defending the very idea of community and the bond of trust between a nation and its citizens. When they administer first aid to a wounded child, share their water with a terrified elder, or simply stand guard through the night, they are rebuilding that sacred trust, one person at a time. They show that the state is not an abstract concept in the faraway capital, but a tangible presence that is willing and able to protect them. This restoration of faith is, in the long run, a more potent weapon against insurgency than any bomb or bullet. It starves the enemy of its psychological oxygen and empowers local communities to resist, knowing that help is not just a possibility, but a reality that can arrive from the clouds.
Operation Swift Descent and the rise of SITAP are not just internal military developments, they are a powerful political statement to the entire world. They signal that Burkina Faso is taking full control of its own destiny. For decades, the security of the Sahel region, including Burkina Faso, was heavily influenced and often dictated by foreign powers. France, the former colonial ruler, maintained a significant military presence. The United States provided training and intelligence. The United Nations deployed peacekeeping missions. While often well-intentioned, this foreign assistance came with strings attached. The strategies were often designed in Paris, Washington, or New York by people who lacked a deep, intuitive understanding of the local terrain, culture, and the specific nature of the enemy. These one-size-fits-all plans frequently failed, leading to frustration and a sense that Burkina Faso was a junior partner in the fight for its own survival. The country often found itself cleaning up the messes left by failed foreign interventions, dependent on foreign money, foreign troops, and foreign battle plans. Now that era of dependency is decisively ending. The new military junta that has taken power in Burkina Faso has made sovereignty and self-reliance its central pillars. SITAP and its elite paratroopers are the most tangible proof of this new philosophy. They represent a homegrown solution, specifically designed for Burkina Faso's unique challenges. By developing its own elite fighting force capable of rapid deployment without needing to ask for foreign airlift or logistical support, Burkina Faso is asserting its independence on the world stage. Operation Swift Descent was a message. We can do this ourselves. It demonstrates a newfound confidence and a refusal to be a passive recipient of aid. This is a country that is now building its own tools, training its own warriors, and writing its own playbook for survival and victory. So who are these elite soldiers who fall from the sky? They are not faceless, emotionless fighting machines. They are not mercenaries or foreign legionnaires. They are the sons and daughters of Burkina Faso itself, drawn from the very communities they have sworn to protect. This is perhaps their greatest strength. Many of the paratroopers grew up in the rural villages of the north and east, the regions now ravaged by conflict. They know the land not from maps but from memory. They know every hill, every winding riverbed, every dusty trail. They understand the subtle changes in the landscape, the local dialects, and the complex web of relationships that define village life. This intimate personal connection transforms their mission from a job into a sacred duty. They are not fighting for an abstract concept of a nation or for a paycheck. They are fighting for their own homes, for the safety of their aunts, uncles, and cousins. They are fighting to protect the marketplaces where their mothers once shopped and the schools where they themselves learned to read. When they land in a village under attack, they are not strangers. They are neighbors arriving to help. This shared identity gives them a powerful advantage. They can communicate with locals in a way no foreign soldier ever could, earning their trust and gathering vital intelligence. Their fight is deeply personal, fueled by a love for their land and a fierce desire to protect their way of life from those who seek to destroy it. This local connection makes them more effective and more motivated. They are fighting for a future where their own children can grow up without fear. They embody the spirit of the nation, resilient, proud, and deeply rooted in the soil they defend. They are not just an army, they are a reflection of the people, a testament to the country's will to survive and flourish on its own terms. The journey to becoming one of Burkina Faso's elite paratroopers is a trial by fire. The training at SITAP is deliberately designed to be one of the most difficult experiences a soldier can endure. It is a process of systematic deconstruction and reconstruction designed to find the absolute limit of a recruit's physical and mental endurance and then push them far beyond it. The instructors, themselves veteran paratroopers, know that the battlefield is merciless, so their training must be even more so. The physical conditioning is relentless. It begins before dawn with long, grueling runs through the rugged terrain surrounding Bobo Dioulasso, often with soldiers carrying heavy packs filled with sand and equipment. They are put through punishing obstacle courses designed to simulate the physical challenges of a combat zone, climbing high walls, crawling under barbed wire, and navigating confined spaces. But it's the parachuting drills that test their courage most directly. They don't just jump in perfect sunny conditions. They are forced to jump in the pitch-black darkness of night, learning to land safely without any visual references on the ground. They jump into simulated high winds and storms, mastering the techniques to avoid being dragged to their death upon landing. They practice landing in dense brush and on rocky ground, learning to minimize injury in the most hostile environments. Yet the mental toll is often greater than the physical one. Soldiers are subjected to extreme sleep deprivation, forced to perform complex navigational and tactical exercises when their bodies and minds are screaming for rest. They face simulated ambushes, with the sounds of gunfire and explosions creating a chaotic and terrifying atmosphere, training them to think clearly and act decisively when fear is trying to paralyze them. They are taught to survive for days on end, cut off from all support, with only the resources they can carry or find. This builds an unbreakable mental toughness, an ability to remain calm and focused when everything is going wrong. The goal is to strip away all fear and hesitation, leaving only a core of pure, unshakable resolve. Those who graduate from SITAP have not just learned skills, they have been fundamentally changed. They have faced their worst fears in training so that they can be fearless on the battlefield.
In the modern, asymmetric battlefield of the Sahel, being an expert marksman is not enough. A paratrooper who lands in a remote hostile area is often the sole representative of the state for miles around. They are cut off from immediate backup and must be a self-contained, multifunctional unit. The training at SITAP reflects this reality, producing soldiers who are less like simple fighters and more like Swiss Army knives, versatile, adaptable, and equipped with a wide range of critical skills. Every paratrooper receives extensive training in combat first aid, far beyond basic bandaging. They learn to treat gunshot wounds, apply tourniquets, and stabilize critically injured patients, both fellow soldiers and civilians, until proper medical help can arrive. In a village just attacked, this skill can mean the difference between life and death for countless people. They are also trained as amateur technicians. They learn how to perform basic repairs on their essential equipment, such as their communication radios. A soldier who can fix a broken radio can re-establish contact with headquarters, call for reinforcements, or coordinate an evacuation. A soldier who cannot is just another person lost in the wilderness. Furthermore, they are trained in survival skills that would rival any expert outdoorsman. They learn how to find water sources, build emergency shelters from natural materials, and navigate using the sun and stars. This ensures that even if a mission goes wrong and they are left stranded for days, they can survive and continue to be effective. Crucially, they are also trained in the soft skills of community engagement. They learn how to approach village elders with respect, how to listen to the concerns of the local population, and how to build the rapport necessary to gather credible intelligence. In a war where the enemy hides among the people, this ability to win trust and connect with civilians is as powerful and as essential as any weapon they carry. This multi-skilled approach ensures that when a Burkinabe paratrooper lands, they bring not just the ability to fight, but the ability to stabilize, to heal, and to rebuild. They are not just an army, they are a lifeline. Operation Swift Ascent and Burkina Faso's new military posture are not happening in a vacuum. They are a central part of a much larger tectonic shift occurring across the entire West African Sahel. In 2023, a landmark event took place. Burkina Faso, along with its neighbors Mali and Niger, formed the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. All three nations are led by military governments that came to power with promises of ending insecurity and ejecting foreign influence. This alliance is more than a simple non-aggression pact. It is a mutual defense treaty. An attack on one is considered an attack on all. The formation of the AES was a direct response to years of perceived failures by international coalitions and a shared desire to forge a new path based on regional cooperation and self-determination. The clear stated goal was to create a united front against the common enemy of terrorism and to stop relying on Western powers for security. For a long time, this alliance existed primarily on paper, a set of promises and political declarations, but promises mean nothing without the military capability to back them up. This is where Burkina Faso's paratroopers play a pivotal role. They provide the AES with a credible, proven model for a rapid reaction force. They demonstrate that it is possible for a Sahelian nation, using its own resources and personnel, to develop a highly effective, modern military capability perfectly suited to the region's challenges. Burkina Faso isn't just building an army for itself, it is creating a blueprint that its allies can study, adopt, and integrate. The success of SITAP and Operation Swift Descent gives real teeth to the promises of the AES, transforming it from a political agreement into a formidable, integrated military bloc in the making.
The ultimate vision extends far beyond Burkina Faso's borders. It is a future where the airborne strategy becomes the cornerstone of the Alliance of Sahel States' collective security. Imagine a scenario where the elite paratroopers of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are not just separate national units, but part of a single integrated joint task force. Imagine them training together at SITAP, sharing tactics and intelligence, and standardizing their equipment and communication protocols. In this future, when insurgents launch an attack on a village in the border region of Mali, the response wouldn't be limited to the Malian army. A command center staffed by officers from all three nations